The alarm bells screamed across the military base as Captain Ryan Hayes ran through the metal corridors. His boots hit the floor hard with each step. The red emergency lights flashed on and off, making everything look like a nightmare. He had been sleeping when the call came in. Now he was rushing to the most important meeting of his life. 3 years of war had left Earth broken. The alien ships came from nowhere and destroyed everything in their path. Humanity fought back with everything they had, but it was not enough. The Zephyrian Empire was too strong, too advanced, and too cruel. They had taken colony after colony, planet after planet. Now only Earth remained. Ryan burst through the doors of the command center. Admiral Kate Morrison stood at the center of the room, her gray hair pulled back tight. Her face looked tired and old. Around her, officers and scientists sat at computer screens, their faces pale with worry. The main screen showed a map of space with red dots marking enemy ships. There were so many red dots that the screen looked like it was bleeding. "Captain Hayes reporting for duty, ma'am," Ryan said, trying to catch his breath. Admiral Morrison turned to look at him. "Ryan, thank God you're here. We need you now more than ever." She pointed to the screen. "The Zephyrian fleet is moving toward Earth. Our scouts say they'll be here in 2 weeks. This is it, the final battle." Ryan felt his stomach drop. He had fought the aliens many times before. He had seen their ships destroy entire cities with one blast. He had watched good soldiers die trying to stop them. Earth's military was brave, but they were no match for the Zephyrian war machine. "How many ships are coming?" Ryan asked. "Over 3,000, Admiral Morrison said. "We have maybe 400 ships left that can still fight." The room fell silent. Everyone knew what those numbers meant. It was over. Humanity was about to lose everything. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood up from her chair. She was the smartest person Ryan had ever met. She studied alien life and knew more about the Zephyrians than anyone else on Earth. "There might be another way," she said quietly. All eyes turned to her. Admiral Morrison raised her eyebrows. "What do you mean, Doctor?" Elena walked to the main screen and touched it. The image changed to show pictures of the Zephyrian leader. Queen Lyrleth was huge, even for her species. She had blue skin that looked like crystal and eyes that seemed to burn with cold fire. Her people called her the Ice Queen because she never showed emotion. She had led her empire to victory after victory, crushing anyone who stood in her way. "Queen Lyrleth has ruled the Zephyrian Empire for 15 years, Elena said. "In all. That time, she has never taken a mate. This is very unusual for her species. Zephyrian queens almost always marry within their first few years of rule." "So what?" asked Colonel Amy Turner, Ryan's former partner. "Maybe she's too busy conquering the galaxy to think about marriage." Elena shook her head. "No, you don't understand. In Zephyrian culture, an unmarried queen is seen as incomplete. Her advisors and generals are starting to question her leadership. Our spies report that there are whispers of rebellion within her own ranks." Ryan stepped closer to the screen. He had studied the enemy for years, trying to find their weaknesses. "What are you suggesting, Doctor?" "Zephyrian marriage law is very specific," Elena continued. "When a queen takes a mate, that person becomes her equal in the eyes of the law. They share her power and her authority. They can speak for her in council meetings and make decisions in her name." Admiral Morrison frowned. "That's interesting, but I don't see how it helps us. She's not going to marry one of us." "Maybe she would," Elena said, "if the right person asked her in the right way." The room erupted in shocked voices. Someone laughed. Someone else called it crazy. But Ryan felt something different. He felt hope for the first time in months. "You're talking about a suicide mission," Colonel Turner said. "No one can get close enough to the Queen to even have a conversation with her, let alone propose marriage." "Actually, someone can," Elena said. She looked directly at Ryan. "The Zephyrians have a code of honor. If a warrior comes to them alone, without weapons, and asks for a formal audience, they have to listen. It's an old tradition from their homeworld." Ryan felt everyone's eyes on him. He was the obvious choice. He had more experience fighting the aliens than anyone else. He spoke several of their languages. He understood their customs better than most humans, and he was expendable. If he died, it would be no great loss to the war effort. It's insane, Colonel Turner said. Even if she agrees to meet with you, why would she want to marry a human? We're her enemies. Because she's desperate too, Elena replied. Our intelligence reports show that her own people are losing faith in her. If she can't find a mate soon, there will be civil war in the Zephyrian Empire. A marriage to a human would solve her problem and give her a scapegoat if things go wrong. Admiral Morrison walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Even if this crazy plan works, even if she agrees to marry you, how does that help us? She still have her fleet. She still want to destroy Earth. But she also have a husband who can speak for her, Elena said. Someone who can negotiate on behalf of both species. Someone who can find a way to make peace. Ryan thought about it. The plan was crazy, but it was better than sitting and waiting for the aliens to arrive. At least this way, they would be doing something. How would I get to her? He asked. We captured a Zephyrian transport ship last month, Admiral Morrison said. It's small and fast. You could use it to get close to their fleet, and then what? Just fly up to their biggest ship and ask to speak to the Queen? Actually, yes, Elena said. There's a prisoner exchange scheduled for tomorrow. The Zephyrians are returning some of our captured pilots. You could use that as cover to get close to their flagship. Ryan nodded slowly. It was a long shot, but it was better than nothing. What makes you think she'd say yes? Because she's smart, Elena replied. She knows her empire is in trouble. She knows her people are questioning her leadership. A marriage to you would buy her time and give her options. It's a political move, nothing more. And if she says no, then you die, Admiral Morrison said bluntly. And Earth dies 2 weeks later. Ryan looked around the room at the faces of his fellow officers. They all knew this was their last chance. The final roll of the dice. If it failed, humanity would be extinct within a month. I'll do it, Ryan said. Colonel Turner grabbed his arm. Ryan, you don't have to do this. We can find another way. What other way? Ryan asked. We're out of options, Amy. This is all we have left. Admiral Morrison nodded. The transport ship is being prepared now. You'll leave in 6 hours. Dr. Rodriguez will brief you on Zephyrian marriage customs during the flight. Ryan saluted. Yes, ma'am. As he turned to leave, Elena called out to him. Ryan, remember, this is not about love or romance. This is about survival. You're not trying to win her heart. You're trying to save our species. Ryan nodded and walked out of the command center. In 6 hours, he would be flying toward the enemy fleet to propose marriage to the most dangerous woman in the galaxy. It was the craziest thing he had ever done, but it was also humanity's only hope. The stolen Zephyrian transport ship moved through space like a silver arrow. Ryan sat in the pilot's seat, his hands shaking slightly as he guided the ship toward the massive alien fleet. Through the window, he could see thousands of enemy ships, waiting in formation. Each one was the size of a city and armed with weapons that could destroy planets. Dr. Elena Rodriguez sat beside him, reading from a tablet. Remember, you must bow exactly 3 times when you meet her. Not 2, not 4, 3 times. And you must keep your eyes down until she speaks to you first. Ryan nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. In 20 minutes, he would be standing in front of the most feared ruler in the galaxy. One wrong word and he would be dead. One small mistake and Earth would follow. The marriage proposal must be formal, Elena continued. You cannot just ask her to marry you. You must use the ancient words. Say them exactly as I taught you. I remember, Ryan said. His mouth felt dry. The Zephyrian language was difficult and full of strange sounds. He had practiced the words 100 times, but he still worried he would mess them up. The transport ship's radio crackled to life. A cold voice spoke in the alien language. Human vessel, state your purpose. Ryan took a deep breath and responded in Zephyrian. I am Captain Ryan Hayes of the Terran Federation. I come seeking an audience with Queen Lyrilleth under the ancient laws of honor. There was a long pause. Ryan could hear other voices in the background, speaking too quickly for him to understand. Finally, the voice returned. You will dock in Bay 7. Any weapons will result in immediate death. I carry no weapons, Ryan replied. The massive flagship grew larger as they approached. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. The ship's hull was covered in crystal formations that glowed with blue light. Strange symbols were carved into the metal, telling the story of Zephyrian conquests across the galaxy. Ryan docked the transport ship and stepped out into the alien vessel. The air was cold and smelled like metal and ozone. Zephyrian guards surrounded him immediately. They were tall and strong, with blue skin and eyes that seemed to look right through him. Their armor was made of the same crystal material as their ships. Follow, one of them said in broken English. They walked through corridors that seemed to go on forever. The walls were covered in more of the strange symbols. Ryan saw other Zephyrians along the way. Some stopped to stare at him with curiosity. Others looked at him with hatred. He was the first human to ever walk freely on their flagship. Finally, they reached a massive door covered in gold and silver. The guard stopped and spoke to someone Ryan could not see. The door opened slowly, revealing a throne room that took Ryan's breath away. The room was huge, with a ceiling that seemed to stretch up into infinity. Pillars of crystal supported the structure, each one glowing with its own light. At the far end of the room sat a throne made of black metal and blue crystal. And on that throne sat Queen Lyrilleth herself. She was even more impressive in person than in the pictures. She stood 7 feet tall, with skin that looked like blue glass and hair that fell to her shoulders like liquid silver. Her eyes were the color of ice, and when she looked at Ryan, he felt like she could see into his soul. She wore armor that seemed to be made of starlight itself. So, she said, her voice echoing through the room. A human comes to my ship. A human speaks our sacred words. A human asks for audience with me. She leaned forward slightly. Why should I not kill you where you stand? Ryan remembered Elena's instructions. He bowed 3 times, keeping his eyes on the floor. Your Majesty, I come in peace. I come with an offer that could benefit both our peoples. Speak, she commanded. Ryan straightened up but kept his eyes lowered. Your Majesty, our 2 species have been at war for 3 years. Much blood has been spilled on both sides. Many good warriors have died. But war is not the only way to settle disputes between great powers. Queen Lyrilleth laughed, but it was not a happy sound. You think to offer me surrender? Your pathetic fleet against my empire? I could crush your world with a thought. I do not offer surrender, Your Majesty. I offer alliance. The Queen's eyes narrowed. Alliance? Why would I ally with a species I am about to destroy? This was the moment Ryan had been preparing for. Everything depended on the next few words. Because your empire faces threats from within, Your Majesty. Because your advisors question your leadership. Because you rule alone when tradition says you should rule with a mate. The room fell silent. Ryan could hear his own heartbeat. Several of the Queen's advisors shifted uncomfortably. He had touched on something they did not want to discuss. How dare you speak of internal affairs? One of the advisors hissed. Kill him now, my queen. But Queen Lyrilleth raised her hand for silence. She studied Ryan with new interest. You know much for a human. Tell me, Captain Hayes, what do you know of our customs? I know that a queen who rules alone is seen as incomplete, Ryan said carefully. I know that your people expect their leader to have a mate. I know that whispers of rebellion grow louder with each passing day. And what do you propose to do about this? Ryan took a deep breath. This was it. The moment that would determine the fate of 2 species. I propose marriage, Your Majesty. A union between our peoples, a bond that would make peace possible. The room erupted in angry voices. Some of the advisors shouted for Ryan's death. Others argued among themselves. But Queen Lyrilleth remained silent, watching Ryan with those ice-cold eyes. You think I would marry a human? She asked when the noise died down. I think you are wise enough to see the benefits, Ryan replied. Marriage to me would silence your critics. It would show your people that you are strong enough to tame even humanity's greatest warrior. It would give you a scapegoat if the alliance fails, and it would buy you time to deal with the real threats to your empire. The queen stood up from her throne. She was even more imposing standing up. You speak of benefits for me. What do you gain from this arrangement? Peace for my people, Ryan said simply. A chance for both our species to survive and grow stronger together instead of destroying each other. Queen Lireleth walked down the steps from her throne. Each step echoed through the room. She stopped just a few feet away from Ryan, close enough that he could smell her strange alien scent. It was like ice and metal and something else he could not identify. You would give up everything, she said quietly. Your world, your people, your freedom. You would become an alien's mate, never to return home? Why? Because it is the right thing to do, Ryan answered. Because someone has to try to stop this war before it destroys us all. The queen circled him slowly, like a predator studying its prey. And what makes you think I would want peace? I am a conqueror human. I take what I want. I destroy what stands in my way, because you are also a leader, Ryan said. And a good leader knows when to fight and when to negotiate. Your empire is vast, but it is also fragile. The war with humanity has cost you resources and lives. Your people are tired of fighting. They want stability. Queen Lireleth stopped in front of him again. You speak truth about some things, but you do not understand the full situation. My empire does face challenges, but not just from within. She gestured to one of her advisors, who brought forward a holographic display. It showed a map of the galaxy with various colored regions. We are not the only threat in this galaxy, human. There are others. Darker things that wait in the void between stars. Things that want to devour all life. Ryan studied the map. He could see areas marked in red, regions where entire star systems had gone dark. What are they? We call them the Devourers, the queen said. They consume everything they touch. Planets, stars, entire civilizations. They have been moving toward this part of the galaxy for decades. The war with humanity has weakened both our peoples. We need to be strong to face what is coming. Then we need to work together, Ryan said. Combine our strengths instead of wasting them fighting each other. The queen was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was different. Less cold, more thoughtful. You offer marriage as a political tool. But Zephyrian marriage is not just politics. It is a sacred bond. It cannot be broken easily. I understand, Ryan said. I am prepared to honor that bond. Are you? She asked. Even if it means never seeing your homeworld again? Even if it means living among aliens for the rest of your life? Ryan thought of Earth, of his friends and fellow officers. He thought of Admiral Morrison and Colonel Turner and all the people counting on him. Yes, he said. I am. Queen Lireleth smiled for the first time since he had entered the room. It was not a warm smile, but it was not cruel either. It was the smile of someone who had found an unexpected solution to a difficult problem. Very well, Captain Hayes, she said. I accept your proposal. We will be married according to the ancient laws of both our peoples. The ceremony will be broadcast across both human and Zephyrian space. It will be a symbol of the new alliance between our species. Ryan felt a mixture of relief and terror. He had succeeded in his mission, but now he had to live with the consequences. He was about to marry the most dangerous woman in the galaxy. But know this, the queen continued, her voice becoming cold again. This is a political arrangement. Nothing more. Do not mistake it for anything else. You will have your peace. The wedding ceremony was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ryan stood in the great hall of the Zephyrian flagship, wearing clothes that felt strange on his human body. The outfit was made of fine alien fabric that seemed to shift colors in the light. It was heavy and uncomfortable, but it was required for the ceremony. Beside him, Queen Lireleth looked magnificent in her wedding robes. They were made of silver and blue crystal that caught the light and threw it back in patterns that hurt to look at directly. Her hair had been braided with jewels that sparkled like stars. She looked like a goddess of ice and war, the ceremony. was being broadcast live across both human and Zephyrian space. Billions of people were watching as their leaders joined together in marriage. On Earth, crowds gathered around public screens to watch their hero save humanity. In the Zephyrian Empire, citizens watched their queen finally take a mate. The priest spoke in the ancient Zephyrian language, his voice echoing through the hall. Ryan had memorized his responses, but his mouth felt dry as he spoke the words that would bind him to this alien woman forever. When it was time to exchange rings, Lireleth placed a band of metal on his finger that felt cold against his skin. "By the ancient laws of both our peoples," the priest said, "I pronounce you husband and wife. May your union bring peace to the galaxy." The crowd cheered, but Ryan felt only emptiness. He had done what he came to do. The war was over. Humanity was safe. But now he had to live with the consequences. The peace negotiations began immediately. After the ceremony, Ryan found himself sitting at a table with generals and diplomats from both sides. The talks were difficult and full of mistrust. The humans wanted guarantees that the Zephyrians would not attack again. The Zephyrians wanted access to human technology and resources. Colonel Amy Turner led the human delegation. She was Ryan's oldest friend, and seeing her again made him homesick. During a break in the negotiations, she pulled him aside. "How are you holding up?" she asked. "I'm fine," Ryan lied. "Just doing my job." "Your job was to propose to her and save humanity," Amy said. "You did that. But now you have to live with her for the rest of your life. That's not a job, Ryan. That's a sentence." Ryan looked across the room at Lireleth. She was speaking with her advisors, her voice calm and controlled. Even in casual conversation, she looked dangerous. "She's not as bad as I expected," he said. "She's still an alien," Amy replied. "And she's still your enemy. Don't forget that." But Ryan was beginning to wonder if that was true. During the negotiations, he had watched Lireleth carefully. She was tough and demanding, but she was also fair. She kept her word and honored the agreements they made. More importantly, she seemed to genuinely want peace. The treaty was signed 3 days later. It established trade agreements between the two species and created a joint military force to defend against outside threats. Most importantly, it ended the war that had nearly destroyed both civilizations. As part of the treaty, Ryan would remain married to Lireleth for 1 full year. This was supposed to ensure that both sides honored their commitments. After that, they could divorce if they chose to. Ryan hoped the year would pass quickly. His new quarters on the Zephyrian flagship were luxurious but felt like a prison. The rooms were large and filled with alien art and furniture. There was a bed big enough for 10 people and a window that looked out into space. But there were also guards outside his door, and he was not allowed to leave without permission. Dr. Ben Carter arrived a week later as part of the scientific exchange program. He was a brilliant researcher who had volunteered to study Zephyrian technology. Ryan was grateful to have a human friend nearby. "This place is incredible," Ben said as he toured Ryan's quarters. "The technology here is hundreds of years ahead of ours. Did you know they can manipulate gravity? They can create energy from nothing. They can even extend their lifespans to over 300 years. "That's great," Ryan said without enthusiasm. "I'm sure humanity will benefit from the knowledge." Ben studied his friend's face. "You don't seem happy about any of this." "I saved our species," Ryan said. "That's what matters. But what about you? What about your life?" Ryan shrugged. "My life doesn't matter. This is bigger than me." Over the following weeks, Ryan began to learn more about Zephyrian society. He was given access to their libraries and allowed to attend their council meetings. What he learned surprised him. The Zephyrians were not just conquerors. They were a dying race. A plague had swept through their homeworld decades ago, killing most of their population. The survivors had spread across the galaxy looking for new worlds to colonize. They fought wars not because they were evil, but because they were desperate. Commander Lisa Park, a human intelligence officer, maintained secret contact with Ryan through encrypted messages. She told him about the situation on Earth. Some humans were angry about the marriage and wanted to break the treaty. Others saw it as the best chance for peace. Admiral Morrison is under a lot of pressure, Lisa wrote. There are people who want to attack the Zephyrian fleet while their guard is down. They think your marriage was a mistake? Ryan felt a chill. If the humans attacked now, it would start the war all over again. Worse, it would make him look like a spy who had married the queen just to get close to her. He decided to tell Lireleth about the threat. He found her in her private study, reading reports from across her empire. She looked up when he entered, and for a moment, he saw something other than coldness in her eyes. You have news? She asked. Some humans want to break the treaty, Ryan said. They think our marriage was a trick. Lireleth nodded slowly. I have heard similar reports. Some of my own generals believe the same thing. They think I have been made a fool by human deception. What do we do? We prove them wrong, she said. We show both our peoples that this alliance is real and permanent. Over the next few days, Ryan and Lireleth appeared together at public events. They toured Zephyrian colonies and met with human diplomats. They gave speeches about the benefits of peace and cooperation. To the outside world, they looked like a happy couple working together for the good of both species, but in private, their relationship remained cold and formal. They ate meals together in silence. They slept in separate bedrooms. They spoke to each other only when necessary. One evening, as they sat in the royal dining hall, Lireleth suddenly spoke. Do you hate me? The question caught Ryan off guard. No, he said, I don't hate you. But you do not like me either, Ryan thought about his answer. I don't know you well enough to like or dislike you. You're my wife, but you're also a stranger? That is honest, she said. I appreciate honesty. What about you? Ryan asked. Do you hate me? No, she said. You interest me. Most people are afraid of me. Even my own advisors fear to speak freely in my presence. But you look at me as an equal. You treat me like a person, not just a queen. You are a person, Ryan said. A person with a very difficult job, Lireleth smiled slightly. It was the first genuine smile he had seen from her. Yes, it is difficult. Being a queen is lonely. Everyone wants something from you. Everyone has an agenda, but you ask for nothing. I ask for peace, Ryan said. That is different. Peace benefits everyone. It is not selfish. They continued talking, and Ryan found himself enjoying the conversation. Lireleth was intelligent and thoughtful. She had a dry sense of humor that reminded him of his sister back on Earth. For the first time since the wedding, he felt like he was talking to a real person instead of a political figure. Dr. Carter made an important discovery during his research. He found that human and Zephyrian DNA were surprisingly compatible. With some genetic modification, it might be possible for the two species to have children together. This was huge news for the Zephyrians, who had been unable to reproduce normally since the plague. This changes everything, Carter told Ryan. If the Zephyrians can solve their population problem, they won't need to conquer other worlds. They can focus on rebuilding their civilization. Ryan realized that his marriage to Lireleth had become more than just a political arrangement. It was a symbol of hope for both species. It showed that humans and Zephyrians could not only coexist, but actually build something together, but it also made the marriage more complicated. If they could have children, what did that mean for their relationship? Was it still just a political arrangement, or was it becoming something more? As the weeks passed, Ryan found himself looking forward to his conversations with Lireleth. She was nothing like he had expected. She was not a cruel tyrant, but a leader trying to save her people. She was not emotionless, but someone who had learned to hide her feelings behind a mask of coldness. One night, as they sat in her private garden, she told him about her childhood. I was not born to be queen, she said. I had 2 older brothers who were supposed to rule, but the plague took them, along with my parents and most of my family. I became queen at 16 with no training and no preparation. That must have been terrifying, Ryan said. It was, she admitted. I made many mistakes. I was too harsh, too quick to use violence. I thought that if I appeared weak, my enemies would destroy me. So I became the Ice Queen. I became someone people feared, but you kept your people alive, Ryan said. You built an empire. You gave the Zephyrians hope. At what cost? She asked. Ryan was reading in the royal library when the alarm started screaming. The sound was different from the usual ship alerts. This was the sound of danger, of immediate threat. He dropped his book and ran toward the command center, his heart pounding. The corridors filled with Zephyrian soldiers running in all directions. Their faces showed fear and confusion. Something was very wrong. Ryan had never seen the disciplined alien warriors look so panicked. He reached the command center just as an explosion rocked the ship. The lights flickered and went out for a moment, before the backup power kicked in. Through the chaos he could see Lireleth standing at the center of the room, giving orders to her officers. "What's happening?" Ryan shouted over the noise. "Assassins," Lireleth replied without looking at him. "They got past our security somehow. 3 of my guards are dead." Another explosion shook the ship. This one was closer. Ryan could hear weapons firing in the distance. "Who's behind it?" "General Vorthok," one of the officers reported. "He's leading a group of soldiers who oppose the peace treaty. They want to kill the Queen and restart the war." Ryan felt cold. Fear wash over him. If Lireleth died, the peace between their species would die with her. The war would begin again, and this time it would be even more brutal. "Where are they now?" "Moving toward the royal quarters," the officer said. "They're trying to trap us here." Lireleth turned to face Ryan. Her ice-blue eyes were hard as stone. "You should go," she said. "Find a safe place to hide." "This is not your fight." But Ryan shook his head. 6 months ago, he might have agreed with her. 6 months ago, this marriage was just a political arrangement to save his people. But things had changed. Over the weeks and months, he had come to know Lireleth as more than just an alien queen. She was his friend, his partner, and maybe something more. "I'm not leaving you," he said. "Don't be foolish," Lireleth snapped. "You're human. You have no reason to die for me." "Yes, I do," Ryan said quietly. Before she could argue, the doors to the command center exploded inward. Armed Zephyrian soldiers poured into the room, their weapons raised. At their head was General Vorthok, a massive warrior with scars covering his blue skin. "Stand down, my queen," Vorthok growled. "Your reign is over. The alliance with humans ends today." Lireleth stepped forward, her own weapon in her hand. "You forget yourself, General. I am still your queen." "You are a traitor," Vorthok snarled. "You married a human. You made peace with our enemies. You have dishonored our entire species." "I saved our species," Lireleth replied. "The war was destroying us." "Better to die with honor than live in shame," Vorthok said. He raised his weapon toward Lireleth. "Goodbye, false queen." Ryan moved without thinking. He threw himself between Lireleth and the weapon just as Vorthok fired. The energy blast hit him in the shoulder, spinning him around and sending him crashing to the floor. Pain exploded through his body like fire. The room erupted in chaos. Loyal soldiers fought against the rebels. Weapons fired in all directions. Through the noise and confusion, Ryan could hear Lireleth shouting orders and calling his name. The battle was brief but violent. Lireleth's loyal guards outnumbered the rebels, and they fought with the fury of people protecting their beloved leader. Within minutes, General Vorthok and his followers were dead or captured. Ryan lay on the floor, clutching his wounded shoulder. The pain was incredible, but he was alive. More importantly, Lireleth was alive. He had done what he set out to do. "Ryan!" Lireleth knelt beside him, her face pale with worry. "Why did you do that? Why did you protect me?" "Because ... Ryan struggled to speak through the pain. "Because you're my wife." Medical officers arrived and carried Ryan to the ship's hospital. The wound was serious but not life-threatening. The energy blast had burned through muscle and bone, but it had missed his vital organs. He would recover, though it would take time. Lireleth stayed with him through the surgery and the long hours of recovery. She rarely left his bedside, even when her advisors came to discuss important matters of state. When Ryan finally woke up, she was the first person he saw. "How do you feel?" she asked. Like I was hit by a starship, Ryan said, trying to smile. But I'll live. That was a foolish thing you did, Lireleth said. But her voice was gentle, not angry. You could have been killed, so could you. I am a queen. I'm used to people trying to kill me, but you're just a human. You have no reason to risk your life for me. Ryan looked at her for a long moment. Lireleth, do you think our marriage is still just political? She was quiet for a while. When she spoke, her voice was softer than he had ever heard it. No, she said, I think it stopped being political weeks ago. When did you know? When you started asking me about my childhood, she said. When you listened to my stories without judging me. When you looked at me like I was a person instead of a monster. She paused. When did you know? Just now, Ryan said. When I saw that weapon pointed at you and knew I couldn't let you die. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Outside the window, stars drifted past as the ship continued its journey through space. Ryan realized that somewhere along the way, this alien vessel had started to feel like home. There's something else, Lireleth said eventually. My advisors are worried about your safety. They think there might be more attempts on both our lives, from your people or mine. But both, she said grimly. Some humans still think you're a traitor. Some Zephyrians still think I'm weak for marrying you. There are extremists on both sides who want the war to continue. Ryan nodded. He had been expecting this. What do? We make a choice, Lireleth said. The treaty requires us to stay. Married for 1 year, that time is almost up. In 2 months, we could divorce and go back to our separate worlds. You could return to Earth as a hero. I could find a Zephyrian mate and satisfy my critics. Or we could make this marriage real, not just a political arrangement, but a true partnership. We could work together to build a lasting peace between our peoples. Ryan felt his heart racing. This was not a decision he had expected to face. When he first proposed to Lireleth, it was supposed to be temporary, a sacrifice to save humanity. He had never imagined that he might actually fall in love with her. If we stay married, he said slowly, what happens then? Then we face the future together, Lireleth said. The good and the bad. There will always be people who oppose us. There will always be threats to the peace we've built. But we won't face them alone, and if we divorce, then we go back to being strangers. You return to your world, and I return to mine. The peace treaty might survive, but it will always be fragile. Without our marriage to symbolize the alliance, it could collapse at any time. Ryan thought about Earth, about his old life and his friends. He thought about Colonel Turner and Admiral Morrison and all the people who expected him to come home. But he also thought about the life he had built here with Lireleth. He thought about their conversations in the garden, their shared meals, the way she smiled when she thought no one was looking. There's something I need to tell you, he said. Back on Earth, there are people planning to attack your fleet. They think our marriage was a trick to make you vulnerable. Lireleth's eyes hardened. When? Soon. Major Greg Hamilton contacted me secretly. He's my oldest friend, but he's working with the extremists now. He thinks I've been brainwashed or coerced. Have you? Ryan looked at her, this alien woman who had become so important to him. No, he said. I'm here because I choose to be here. Then we need to warn both our governments, Lireleth said. If there's going to be an attack, we need to stop it before it starts another war. There's more, Ryan said. The extremists aren't just planning to attack your fleet. They want to capture or kill me. They think I'm either a traitor or a prisoner. Who needs to be rescued? Lireleth stood up, her face grim. Then we have even less time than I thought. We need to make our choice now, before others make it for us. What are you saying? I'm saying that in 2 days, representatives from both our governments will arrive for the official end of the marriage period. They'll expect us to either confirm our divorce or announce that we're staying together permanently. If we choose divorce, you'll be taken back to Earth immediately. If we choose to stay married, we'll face whatever comes together. Ryan closed his eyes and thought about everything that had brought him to this moment. The war, the desperate plan, the fake marriage that had become real. He thought about the woman who had started as his enemy and become his closest friend. "Lireleth," he said, opening his eyes to look at her, "there's something I need to tell you." "What?" "I think I'm falling in love with you." She stared at him for a long moment, then slowly she smiled. It was not the cold smile of a queen or the political smile of a diplomat. It was the warm, genuine smile of a woman who had found something unexpected and precious. "I think I'm falling in love with you too," she said. They both knew that the next few days would determine not just their personal future, but the future of two entire species. The fake marriage that had ended a war was about to become something real. But first, they would have to survive the people who wanted to destroy what they had built. The great hall of the Zephyrian flagship was packed with representatives from both worlds. Human admirals sat next to Zephyrian generals. Diplomats whispered to each other in hushed voices. Everyone knew that what happened in the next hour would decide the fate of two civilizations. Ryan stood beside Lireleth at the front of the room, his arm still in a sling from the assassination attempt. The wound ached, but his heart was pounding for a different reason. In a few minutes he would have to make the most important decision of his life. Admiral Morrison had arrived from Earth. That morning with a full delegation, she looked older and more tired than Ryan remembered. The year of peace had been good for humanity, but the politics had been difficult. Many people still wanted to fight the aliens instead of working with them. "Captain Hayes," Admiral Morrison said when she saw him, "it's good to see you alive. We were worried after the attack." "I'm fine, Admiral," Ryan said. "The Queen's doctors took good care of me." Morrison's eyes hardened slightly when he called Lireleth the Queen instead of the alien or the enemy. Ryan realized that his loyalty was already being questioned. "We need to talk privately," Morrison said. "Before the ceremony begins," Ryan followed her to a small side room. Colonel Turner was waiting there, along with Major Hamilton. Greg looked uncomfortable, avoiding Ryan's eyes. Ryan knew his old friend was struggling with divided loyalties. "Ryan," Admiral Morrison began, "you've done incredible work this year. The peace treaty has saved millions of lives, but now it's time to come home." "What if I don't want to come home?" Ryan asked quietly. The room fell silent. Colonel Turner looked shocked. Major Hamilton finally met Ryan's eyes, and Ryan could see disappointment there. "Ryan," Turner said, "she's an alien. This whole marriage was just a mission. You can't have forgotten that." "I haven't forgotten anything," Ryan said. "But things have changed, have they?" Admiral Morrison asked. "Or have you been manipulated? These aliens are very sophisticated. They could have used psychological techniques to make you think you care about her." Ryan felt anger rising in his chest. "No one manipulated me. I made my own choices." "Then choose now," Morrison said firmly. "Choose humanity. Choose your real family and your real home. Don't throw your life away for an alien who would probably kill you without hesitation if it served her purposes." Before Ryan could answer, the door opened and Lireleth entered. She moved with her usual grace, but Ryan could see tension in her shoulders. She was as nervous as he was. "Admirals," she said politely, "I hope you are finding everything to your satisfaction." "Your Majesty," Admiral Morrison replied with cold formality. "We are here to finalize the end of this arrangement and take Captain Hayes home." "That depends on Captain Hayes," Lireleth said. She looked at Ryan, and for a moment her ice-blue eyes showed vulnerability. "The choice is his to make." Major Hamilton stepped forward. "Ryan, think about what you're giving up. Your career, your family, your entire world. Think about your sister back on Earth. She's been waiting for you to come home." Ryan felt his resolve wavering. He did miss his sister. He missed Earth and human food and gravity that felt normal. But when he looked at Lireleth, he remembered all the conversations they had shared, all the moments when she had let down her guard and shown him her real self. "I need more time," Ryan said. "There is no more time," Admiral Morrison said. "The ceremony begins in 10 minutes. You decide now or we decide for you." The threat was clear. If Ryan chose to stay with Lireleth, he would be branded a traitor. If he chose to return to Earth, the fragile peace might not survive. They returned to the Great Hall, where hundreds of people waited for the announcement. Ryan could see reporters from both worlds, their cameras ready to broadcast the decision across the galaxy. Whatever happened here would be remembered forever. Lireleth took her place on the raised platform. She wore her formal robes, but Ryan could see her hands shaking slightly. She was as scared as he was. "People of both worlds," she began, her voice carrying across the silent room. "1 year ago, Captain Ryan Hayes and I entered into a marriage of alliance. This union ended a war that was destroying both our peoples. Today, we must decide whether this alliance continues." She paused and looked directly at Ryan. "But before we make that decision, there is something both our peoples must know. This marriage, which began as a political necessity, has become something more. It has become a partnership built on respect, understanding, and yes, love." Gasps echoed through the room. Several human officers looked angry. Some Zephyrian advisors seemed surprised. This was not what anyone had expected to hear. "Over the past year," Lireleth continued, "Captain Hayes has shown me that our peoples are not so different. We both want peace. We both want our children to grow up in a world without war. We both believe that cooperation is stronger than conquest." Ryan stepped forward. His heart was pounding so hard he thought everyone could hear it. "A year ago, I came here to save humanity. I thought I was sacrificing my life for my people. But I learned something I never expected. I learned that love can bridge any gap, even the gap between stars." Admiral Morrison stood up angrily. "Captain Hayes, you are out of line. You will return with us immediately." "No," Ryan said firmly. "I won't." The room erupted in shocked voices. Human officers shouted protests. Zephyrian advisors argued among themselves. But Ryan only had eyes for Lireleth. "Your Majesty," he said, using the formal address even though his heart wanted to call her by name, "I choose to stay. Not as a prisoner or a political pawn, but as your husband. As your partner. As someone who wants to build a future with you." Lireleth's face transformed. The cold mask she usually wore melted away, revealing joy and relief and love. "And I choose you, Ryan Hayes of Earth, not as a political ally, but as the man I want to spend my life with." They moved toward each other, and when they embraced, the room fell silent. This was not a political ceremony or a diplomatic arrangement. This was two people choosing love over fear, unity over division, but the silence didn't last long. "Admiral." Morrison stormed toward the platform. "This is treason. Captain Hayes, you are under arrest for desertion and collaboration with the enemy." Zephyrian guards moved to block her path, but Lireleth held up her hand. "Let her speak," she said. "You think you love her?" Morrison shouted at Ryan. "She's not even human. This whole thing is an alien trick to weaken our defenses." "Admiral," Ryan said calmly, "you're wrong. This marriage has made both our peoples stronger. Look at what we've accomplished this year. Joint research projects, shared technology, cultural exchanges. We're building something better than either of us could create alone." Dr. Carter stood up from the crowd. "Admiral Morrison, may I present our latest findings?" Without waiting for permission, he activated a holographic display. "Human and Zephyrian DNA are compatible. Not only can our species work together, we can actually have children together. The Zephyrian population crisis can be solved. Human genetic diseases can be eliminated. We can literally create a better future for both species." The implications hit everyone at once. If humans and Zephyrians could have children, then they truly could become one people. The marriage between Ryan and Lireleth wasn't just symbolic anymore. It could be the beginning of a new species that combined the best of both worlds. "This changes everything," whispered one of the Zephyrian advisors. Colonel Turner looked conflicted. "Ryan, are you sure about this? Once you make this choice, there's no going back." Ryan took Lireleth's hand. Her alien skin felt warm against his. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." "Then I guess we have a real wedding to plan," Lireleth said, smiling. The second ceremony was different from the first. There were no political speeches or diplomatic protocols. It was simple and personal, witnessed by friends from both worlds who had come to understand that love really could conquer hate, As they exchanged new vows, Ryan thought about the journey that had brought them here. He had come to end a war and had found a new life instead. He had married an enemy and discovered a soulmate. When the ceremony ended, they stood together looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there were the dark threats that Lireleth had warned him about. The Devourers were still coming, and both their peoples would need to be strong to face them, but they would face that threat together, as partners and equals. The fake marriage that had ended one war would help them prepare for the next one. And this time, they would fight not as separate species, but as one people, united by love and hope for the future. "What happens now?" Ryan asked. "Now we build something new," Lireleth said. "Something that neither humans nor Zephyrians could create alone. We build a future where our children won't have to choose between their human heritage and their Zephyrian blood. There'll be something entirely new." Ryan smiled and pulled her closer. "I love you, Lireleth. I love you too, Ryan Hayes of Earth, my husband, my partner, my hope for tomorrow." The stars shone down on them as they stood together, two beings from different worlds who had found in each other the key to saving both their peoples. The fake marriage was over. The real one had just begun.